welcome to what I think should be called my Eras Reading Challenge Vault section. Because these are I just have a handful of unexpected surprise, but yet really important and core to the story book recommendations for you based on the Eras Tour. Well, specifically like the Eras Tour book, which if you haven't had a chance to check out, or lots of people did flip throughs day of, which was really cute. It's 90% photos. There's a few cute little fun facts and tidbits. The most exciting part in this book, which like we have behind the scenes, you get to see all the microphones, but the most exciting part is that my show at Gillette Stadium has a 2-page dedication. And yes, she says it's to all rain shows and whatever, but like all of these photos are from my show. All of them. And in case you were wondering, the most powerful song, Taylor Swift song, in the rain, is Shake It Off. I felt like pouring rain and you're shaking it off. I felt like I shook off 5 years. So on that note, Taylor, if you'd like to go and do the Eras Tour again in 5 years, it would be helpful to a lot of us, I think. But anyways, if you wanted some more like content Taylor Swift related, but just celebrating Taylor and the Eras Tour and books and just Taylor with more words than pictures, I have 2 recommendations for you, and then I have a third anti-recommendation for you. This little book that has been greatly promoted alongside the end of the Eras Tour that I read cover to cover very quickly because I have to tell you about it. We'll get to it. Anyways, let's just dive right in. So the first book I mentioned in another video, I literally just got this today, but it is Invisible Strings. 113 poets respond to the songs of Taylor Swift, and I did have time to flip through the introduction, and what this is some of the biggest names in poetry. Like, I cannot emphasize to you enough. National Poet Laureates, Pulitzer Prize winners, like National Book Critic Award winners, just the poets, okay? They all were asked to write a poem inspired by a Taylor Swift song, but they won't tell you which one. So you get to go and read through all these poems and think about the Taylor Swift songs that you think inspired them. I've only read one so far, just as I was flipping through, and immediately I was like, I think it's this song. But thus far, there is no, like, answer key, so I don't know if I'm right, but also that's the fun of literature. There is no right answer. There's what the author intended, there's what the reader consumed, there's what you consumed, what the critic thinks, there's different, like, literal glasses you take on and off when you're analyzing literature. You have your Marxist glasses, your feminist glasses. They all provide different readings, and all are true to those glasses. Also, Taylor Swift doesn't come with an answer key. So for all of the convoluted ties between a song she wrote when she was 13 and one she wrote when she was 31 and how they mesh together, or how this might seem to reference this, but also it could reference this over here, but also maybe she just forgot she had said this so many years ago, because I can't imagine Taylor spends that much time with her own music. But also, like, there are things people are like, wow, she, like, referenced this, this, and this, and this, and I'm like, as someone who has journaled, like, I've kept, like, a diary since I was 12 years old, you come to find that life just repeats itself. And because it's your life, you view things with a lot of the same glasses on. So you tend to repeat metaphors and circle, like, it all becomes very cyclical. And so a lot of times when people are, like, pointing out Taylor's genius, I'm sitting here as a writer being like, I think she did that by accident. I don't actually think that one was on purpose. There's a lot she does on purpose, her Easter eggs and puzzles and secrets and codes, but sometimes I'm like, nah, that's just a girl living her life, and it just happens to line up that well. So again, I just got this book, but I'm so excited for it. I can't recommend it enough. This 100% looks like, feels like, smells like an act of love. I'm pretty sure the person who edited this book is the one who teaches a Taylor Swift course. Let me see. Oh, no, it's not alphabetical. 1 second. Yeah, so she's a Regents Professor of Literature at Arizona State University and a Senior Research Fellow. Oh no, this is the foreword. This is by someone else. Oh my god, there's just literary essays in here about Taylor Swift. Oh my god, this is incredible. Okay, so the editor put together... Nope, she's working on a PhD. Nah, she's just cool. I don't even know. 10 out of 10. Just go for it, guys. You won't regret it. The second book I have to recommend, very much in the same vein, is one that I was also very, very excited to get, and I've been loving it, is Taylor Swift by the Book. This is, I mean, it's the literature behind the lyrics, from fairy tales to tortured poets. Straight up what this is reading all of Taylor Swift songs as literature. As an English major, this is a Bible. This is beautiful. This is incredible. They start by talking about each era, and they combine some of them as a literary movement. So the debut, her very first album, they describe as a Bildungsroman, which, if you've never heard of this big fancy term, it really just means a coming-of-age story. And they point out the normal themes and tropes that are used in these kinds of novels and how they appear in Taylor Swift songs. And then in Fearless and Speak Now, they continue to talk about coming of age, but also focus on fairy tales and tropes of fairy tales and like your white horse and princes and princesses. And it's brilliant. They don't talk about every song, and they just pull out little bits in certain songs, but it's brilliant. I, as an English major, am learning so much. I'm learning so much new vocab, like so many things where I'm like, oh, I love it when Taylor Swift does this thing. And what do you know? There's like a fancy word for that. For example, one is an antenaclasis. Thank goodness there's a glossary. And that is when a word is repeated but in a different sense. So when she says in All Too Well, the 10-minute version, I kept you like a secret, but you kept me like an oath. That's an antenaclasis. Because she's using the word kept. I mean, those are rather similar, but she does this all the time, where she just uses a word. Oh, this is me trying. I poured out my heart to a stranger, but I didn't pour the whiskey. So I poured out emotionally, but I didn't pour the whiskey. This is me trying. She's a genius, amazing. And they're pointing out so many connections between songs that I never saw. So it's like listening to them in a whole new light. It's so exciting. It's like listening to these albums for the first time. So for example, they put Red and 1989 in the same like literary era together. And nobody ever does that. Like, Red's her last country album, as much as it's like not really country, it's its own whole genre. And 1989 is pure pop princess. But oh my god, the themes between the two, oh my god, you're right, they work so well. Like, there's city elements in Red that are like creeping. You're so right. And then like they have like these little lines they throw out, which is a very Taylor thing, where you just throw out this like incredible line, like gut-wrenching thesis statement. Like for Red, they were like, yeah, so the key song on Red isn't Red, it's not All Too Well, it's Everything Has Changed, which is one of the only like happy love songs on Red. But they're so right, because that's the whole point of Red, is that everything has changed. Like, you move from Speak Now, where it's like, yeah, we're all princessy, but your heart gets broken, but we're still kind of princessy. We still feel enchanted. We still feel the butterflies. But Red is when it all breaks down, and like you have to really break down and start over. So because of this one love affair, everything has changed. This is brilliant. And then there's connections I'm making, not even like pointedly. Like, they brought up Foolish One, which is one of the vault tracks on Speak Now. They pointed out the Fool card in the tarot deck. And essentially, tarot cards are also mentioned in a song called The Prophecy on Tortured Poets. And oh my god, like, the Prophecy and the Foolish One are they are each other's foils. They are they're like Foolish One is, don't worry, girl, he just wasn't the one. Someday the day is gonna come, you're gonna find the one. don't worry. And the prophecy is like, hi, it's like 10 years later and I'm still alone. Is there anyone there for me? No? Okay, cool. I like to put those two together. I never would. The one thing I will say about this book, it's like a warning. I, as an English major, am having trouble with some of it's very dense. They pack a lot into this little guy. There's so many book recommendations. Like, they just throw out like little summaries of so much classic literature. And if you haven't read it, because I haven't read all of it, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I think this book is very, very much intended to be just picked up for fun every now and then. I am reading it cover to cover because I'm insane. But I think if you were just like sitting around listening to Taylor and you're like, what do they say about this song? And then you pick it up and you're like, oh, that's interesting. They have a lot of like, see this song back on page whatever for more. And so then you flip back to that and then you read a little bit about that one. You might read a little bit of the era. They put together fun playlists. It's very much just I think a book intended to flip through. So don't read this cover to cover unless you're insane like me. Now, as I said, the third book I'm recommending is not a recommendation. This is an anti-recommendation. This is a please do not read this book, and here's why. And I had to change my glasses because I have to make sure I get all my notes on this. Because, wow, me and this book have bad blood. And it brings me so much joy to say that because the author thinks Bad Blood is Taylor's worst song ever. So yeah, Rob Sheffield. Music writer galore. We have bad blood. I'm going to go through my problems with this book in order of how angry they made me. I really came very prepared and organized for this because Rob Sheffield is like a big deal in the music industry. He writes for Rolling Stone all the time. He's written multiple articles about Taylor Swift for Rolling Stone. He does the big master list that's very controversial every year of Taylor's best songs ranked. And again, he always puts Bad Blood last and always puts All Too Well first, understandably. But the thing about like judging any form of art, and I work in an art museum, is that, and this has become a big thing. I was actually watching someone talk about classic literature and like reviews of like Pride and Prejudice and Charles Dickens on the internet, and how like people will just like hate on them, and it's like you're just missing it. It's so much more than surface level. I mean, actually, this is kind of reverse of that. Anyways, my point is, art is so hard to judge. Art comes from the heart, and everyone's heart looks different. Everyone's psyche is different. Bad Blood might be Rob Sheffield's least favorite song, but it might be the really super kick-ass song that gets someone through a really hard time. Just because it's not for you doesn't make it bad. And again, I know he does this for clicks and whatever, but just something that's been bothering lately with people calling things bad or deciding they're not good. And it's like, just because it's not for you, just because it doesn't work for you, doesn't mean it's bad, period. Now, yes, there is bad writing and bad whatever. But he's like famous for some really big biographies in the music industry. He's written on David Bowie, Duran Duran, who I don't know. I'll get into that. Anyways, the Beatles, like all sorts of things. He's a big guy. And so this was a big deal that he was writing like this biography on Taylor Swift. And I'm really mad about this. So let's get into it. First of all, my first problem with this book is that this was marketed as this huge book. It is so small. Like, it is literally just a small book. And that really just, why? Why, Rob? Why? Like, this, and the price, this book is $27.99. Almost $30. Do you see how small this is? Here's a normal big hardcover. This, right? $30 hardcover. Like, not even, but he can do it because of his name and Taylor's name. So that really pissed me off because it didn't look like that in the pictures. Secondly, the organization was really bad. Again, we're doing this increasingly of how much things pissed me off. Okay, sorry, my camera died there. So, where was I? We're doing this on a scale of things that bothered me. Starting with the size, the price, awful. Next, the organization. The organization was terrible. First of all, the contents are arranged mainly by Taylor's eras. Makes sense, just following her life. But then it would go off on these tangents. And then it would break off into like, oh, let me just talk about this one song for 20 minutes because I love it. So like, for example, here on page 29, we're talking about like the first time she got invited on tour, when she was writing with one music group, blah, blah, blah. And then we jump to chapter 5, which is all about track 5 and how much Rob Sheffield loves All Too Well, one of Taylor's biggest and best songs. That's her 10-minute song. Literally, it goes from October 20 to... She got her way. Taylor Swift came out in October 2006. And then the next page, October 2012, Taylor Swift releases her greatest song, All Too Well. We just skipped over Fearless, Grammy of the Year, the Album of the Year, skipped over Speak Now. Like what is this organization? And he does this routinely. He'll just go off on these tangents that just make no sense. Like, sir. So, first of all, I don't understand the editing, okay? Next, we get into the writing style. If I had a penny for every bad pun he makes in this book, I could probably buy Rob Sheffield. Like, you're writing, we don't need this. In a cutesy magazine, it's fun when they make a fun little pun. But, like, this is supposed to be a serious, I guess, book, but no. And a lot of times his puns don't, like, they're bad because they're, like, eye-rolling, but they're bad because they don't make sense. On this page, he's talking about Leslie, this was another thing. For several pages, it just turns into a biography on Leslie Gore, because Taylor plays her song "You Don't Own Me" before the beginning of the Eras tour. And then it's just like, what died didn't stay dead, period. Next chapter. And then, I will remember this kid for the rest of my life. This moment felt like the golden age of something good and right and real. And like, what? He doesn't even quote. That's the thing. They're not puns. You're just stealing her lyrics. Seriously, the way this is written, like the way he just says, this moment felt like he does, and he keeps doing it. Like, he ends all his chapters, not even all of them, but a lot of them, with Taylor Swift lyrics, and he doesn't quote them. He doesn't even suggest that they are not his own words. And if you're not a Swiftie, you're not going to necessarily know that. Sir, this is not what editor allowed that. Okay. Anyways. The next thing that frustrated me to no end is the misinformation. Just outright wrong information. Now you might be like, girl, I'll tell you, we are in the middle of how things have pissed me off, what's wrong with this book. And misinformation is only in the middle? Yes, because things get worse. On one page, he outright just like, first of all, I did in fact run out of red flags twice in reading this because I was marking like all the things that I found horrible and wrong in this book. So that's why they're two different colors. But anyways, on this page, he just has wrong lyrics, like outright wrong lyrics. These are not the correct Taylor Swift lyrics. And he doesn't even like change them to make sense in his bad puns. It's just outright wrong lyrics. He's talking about, he just uses the wrong lyrics. You're like the moth to the flame and she was holding the matches. That is not correct in any sense of the word. It was, he was a moth to the flame, she was holding the matches. The whole song of that song is a story. It's he and she and like, yes, me, the narrator, is involved. Like, as this book very kindly and lovingly points out, that it's like one of her like very, they use a great word that I didn't know what it was called. Metatextual. So it's like you're in the story and not in the story. You're aware of the story being told, and it's brilliant from a literary perspective. And he just F's it up. He like not only doesn't acknowledge how cool that is, but he just gets the lyrics wrong. But the biggest thing, and I already shared this on social media and everybody was like, tell us how you really feel. I am telling you how I feel. Actually, did you notice? And you know what? I am telling you how I really feel because I'm allowed to do that, because we have freedom of speech, because we live in a world where women can speak their mind and have emotions about things that they are really passionate about. In fact, one woman I happen to know speaks her mind and talks about her emotions and has become a billionaire because of it. Anyways, so I shared this because it pissed me off to no end, and this is only on page 24 of this incredibly small book. Rob Sheffield, and I'll also get to this, he keeps claiming he's a Swiftie, and then he does things that I'm like, no Swiftie in their right mind would ever do this, say this, even think this. So I don't know how or why he's writing this and publishing this and sharing this with millions of people. And that is what he says about the song Long Live. Long Live is a song on Taylor's third album. She wrote it for the fans, her band and the fans. And we know this for several reasons. One, she has said this many, 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 many times, including at multiple Eras shows, Reputation shows, other tours that Rob Sheffield himself has attended. And he says he's attended in this book. And two, Taylor used to do this was like the beginnings of her crazy Easter eggs and coding and messages. When you'd buy a CD, a Taylor Swift CD, and you pull out the little booklet in the front and it has all the lyrics in it, she would capitalize certain letters and you'd write them all down and it would turn into a coded message. And for Long Live, the coded message was, I'm 90% sure, for you. This is for you. And for a long time, I thought she was talking about the band. But again, then at concert, she says, no, this one is for you guys. This is for the fans. And she said that she wrote this song, which like the lyrics are, I had the time of my life with you. Like, may these memories break our fall. Like, everyone was outraged that we were having such a wonderful time, that the kingdom lights shine. Like, we feel like royalty because we're just having so much fun, and just like, we're like bandits. We're like Robin Hood who got away with all the gold. Like, we are just, long live the magic we made. And she wrote this because at the time when she was in her third album, she was 19 years old. She wrote this song 100% by herself. Her third album she wrote entirely on her own. And she was worried at how you were going to sustain fame, because so many women artists, they like rise when they're early 20s and then never seen or heard from again. Or it's like, oh yeah, they're there, but they're just singing old hits again and again. And they just kind of get written off, especially by the time they're 30, which again, Taylor talks about this in her documentary, Miss Americana, which, Rob, did you watch it? Rob! And this is a theme that gets repeated in songs we see on her Vault songs that get returned, but even in songs that were on the album, where she was just so worried and afraid that, she wouldn't get to hang out with fans anymore, that like this miracle of getting famous would just disappear, that she would get canceled. She literally feared everything that happened to her in the Reputation era. My girl, ugh! And so Long Live is an incredibly important and personal song to Taylor and to the fans. Is our song. Taylor didn't play it on the Eras tour until she owned it, until Long Live Taylor's version came out. Then she brought it back and played it. I'm filming this before the last weekend of the Eras tour, but I'm 99% sure she will be playing Long Live at the Eras tour, even though she took it off the set list again. But I know she'll play it this weekend because that's how meaningful that song is. That song is for us. It's for the fans. And Rob Sheffield has the godforsaken audacity to suggest that this song is about a man, like a single man. He says, she gets to the ending, then swerves her into a whole new direction and changes her topic to making him promise to stand by her forever. Oh, Taylor, what a mess. I'm reading this. How can this poor guy live up to that promise? So kids, gather around. This picture is Auntie Taylor. Yeah, the one who posts Instagram to say, hope it's nice where you are, and sends a holiday card. Rob Sheffield, how dare you? How dare you if that was not like enough to just give you a little snippet of his ego and like how he talks about that song, there are Swifties who are bringing their children to the Eras Tour. The whole bridge of Long Live is, when your children point to the pictures, please tell them my name and tell them how the crowds went wild. Tell them how I hope they shine. Tell your children, I hope they shine. How beautiful. And that's Taylor telling her fans. She's like, listen, if I grow up and the world forgets about me, can you just tell your kids that we had a really fun time one night, like back in Foxborough? Please, can you just tell them that you loved my songs? Can you have fun? Can you please? And now you have moms who grew up as Swifties bringing their babies to the Eras Tour. One of the last children to receive the 22 hat. So if you don't know the Eras Tour, during one song, Taylor has a hat on and she goes to the end of the stage and there's always a little kid there and she passes the hat to the little kid. And it's just one of the most precious moments. And one of the final ones of the Eras Tour that she did this with was a baby. So during the Reputation era, she didn't like go out and hang out with fans a lot, but she would like creep on their live streams and stuff. So this was a fan who was like live streaming talking about Taylor. Taylor hops on and then the lady's like freaking out because like Taylor Swift and her are like having a conversation essentially, and she shows Taylor her baby and she says, oh my god, I can't wait to like hug that baby one day. And then this baby is like 8 years old and she's hugging this baby at her show with mama standing right behind. Like, stop. That is what Long Live is about. And Rob Sheffield has the audacity to not just say it's about a man, but to make fun of Taylor for it being about a man, which it's not. And again, that was just half of what has frustrated me about this book. The other half, let's see, we go into his word choice. Now you might be like, word choice, it's a writing thing, like whatever. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about she went ballistic as soon as the cameras flashed. He's talking about the man that sexually assaulted Taylor. Yep. And there was a whole court case about it. Yeah. He's saying that the minute after she was sexually assaulted, she went ballistic. Which, first of all reports that we have heard from Taylor and witnesses was that no, she very quietly went to her mother, told her what happened, and her mother went ballistic, as mothers tend to do when their child gets sexually assaulted, especially in a public crowded room. And it's on film, like it's on a photograph. You can clearly see this man is groping Taylor Swift. And then he says, so she sued him. What happened was she reported sexual assault. The radio, the place where this guy worked, where he assaulted her, fired him. He sued her for defamation, saying, I didn't do that, even though it was very clear he did. And then she countersued him for $1, which she has never received, saying for sexual assault. She won the case. It's very important, very meaningful to her. I could go more into that, but I don't think I need to. If you're a Swiftie and you're watching this, or just a woman or a person with kindness or empathy. And the way Rob Sheffield describes her suing the man who sexually assaulted her, she did something bad. Which is another one of those horrifying bad puns of the songs, but also, I'm sorry, you want to say it's bad or naughty that she sued the man who sexually assaulted her? What the actual, Rob? And I could pull out a few other examples. He calls her petty. Hold on, let me pull out the actual example because I came with receipts because Taylor Swift taught me well. So he calls her petty because she didn't laugh at a sexist joke on national TV. Definitely, that's a petty move, Rob. He also, again, this bleeds into the next thing that really bothers me is his ego. Like, his ego in this. The fact that he feels he has the audacity to write that her suing a man for sexually assaulting her, again, countersuing because he sued her, is something bad. She did something bad. She did something naughty. It bleeds. He also calls her too much. He calls her, she never had a prayer of emulating Beyonce's Reserve. Oh, and then he's like, it might seem comical to picture teenage Taylor Swift. Ugh. Oh, he also calls her a monster at one point. And he has the audacity to, again, call himself a Swiftie. This is the thing that has pissed me off the most. I do not understand who this book is for. He makes all of these references to old bands and stuff, which I get. Taylor is music history. But he makes them in such a way that it's like, are you expecting like boomers to read this? Are you expecting like your normal readers who read your Bowie biography to read this? Because if you do, then why the heck are you including all of this incredibly biased narrative? Why are you siding with a rapist? Well, not rapist, sexual assaulter. Sorry. It's that word choice, isn't it? He just drifts into biographies about One Direction and Leslie Gore, and it's like, I came here to read about Taylor Swift. Oh, he also drifts into a Carly Simon biography because Taylor had her as a guest at one show, even though she's had hundreds of guests at shows. Actually, Carly Simon was a guest at my show. It was iconic and amazing forever. What? And also, I don't care about her referencing some old band's music or something. I don't. Actually, his whole introduction kind of leads with the thesis statement that he went to a Taylor Swift concert. Again, he's very embarrassed that he went to a Taylor Swift concert, but he went. And he was like, wow, she's going to inspire a whole new generation of artists, especially women artists, especially songwriters. And then he says, and that's what she did. And so how Taylor Swift reinvented pop music, I very much thought, whether it was your clear thesis, this is going to be about tracing how Taylor's, very songwriting heavy, personal experience has mapped itself onto trends in pop music over the last decade. And that's very easy to do. Like, you grab someone like Sabrina Carpenter, you grab someone like Gracie Abrams. There's literally people who opened for her on the Eras Tour who said they became musicians because of Taylor Swift. Like, that's not hard. And yet instead he does just this mess. There's so many moments too where he just becomes the tabloids. Like, he provides like a handy little timeline at the beginning, and he'll can't get over this. Yeah, he provides this handy little timeline. He's like, okay, she's born, she does this, her family moves to Nashville, 2009, she does all these accomplishments, and the media talks about her boyfriend. 2010, all these accomplishments. And the media talks about her boyfriends. And the media talks about her boyfriends. And the media talks about her boyfriends. And then guess what? Right? That sounds like a commentary, like criticism of the media talking about her boyfriends while she's accomplishing all these things. And guess what? Guess what he talks about? Repeatedly, all throughout this book, this very small book. Her love life. Yes, in fact, he does. To the point where, as I said, it becomes like a mini biography of One Direction. Like, there is no reason to quote Harry Styles in a book about Taylor Swift that is this big. He does things like on page 4, one of the things that got me was he was like, she's amazing. Right? He's like, she's a creative genius, a cultural force, and a feminist rebel. But other people think of her as selfish, scheming, sniveling brat fiend, a symbol of capitalism, privilege, self-absorption, self-indulgence, flashbulb chasing vixen, blah, 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 blah. There's one sentence for the good things people think about her, and then a whole paragraph for the bad things. Like, why? He calls her the messiest pop star. Sir, do you know, have you seen any other pop stars ever? Because a lot of them are just as messy. She's never done drugs. She's never spent time in rehab. Not that those are anything to be ashamed of, but I would call that messier than just writing great songs about her own life. I've gone through a lot of this book. Again, I'm just as messy and disorganized as this book. I understand. But if I leave you with one thing, I would like it to be this. Other than the two worst things was him describing the sexual assault, which is really bad. But then he describes something else, which honestly, I think is as I can't speak for Taylor, obviously, but I think it's clear that this was an incident that was as traumatizing as an assault, because it was a verbal assault. It became this thing that really defined huge portions of her life, and that was when her entire interaction with Kanye West started in 2009. When she was a teenager. She was like 17, right? 17. And he jumps up on stage, steals the microphone out of her hand at the VMAs because she won an award. Not even the big award of the night, an award. And he grabs the microphone out of her hand and says, Beyonce had the best of all time, the best video of all time. And then tosses her the mic and leaves. And we all know this later led to, you know, essentially the whole album of Reputation, of illegally recorded phone calls, of people calling Taylor a liar when she wasn't, and then it was later proven that she wasn't, and it became a whole thing. This literally defined years of Taylor's life. Again, all Swifties know this. He claims he's a Swiftie, and yet says he's embarrassed to go to her concert. His big conclusion about that night at the VMAs are that the real victim of that night, the real victim, was Beyonce. The real victim of that night, when Kanye West jumped up and essentially pushed a 17-year-old out of the way to scream into a microphone about Beyonce being better than her. The real victim of that night was Beyonce. Yep, not Taylor. Taylor actually contributed to the problem, the way he phrases it. He literally was like, oh, Taylor was the story. But a week later, Beyonce wasn't even in the story. It was supposed to be Beyonce's big night that night, and she was overshadowed by Taylor Swift. I just don't understand how so much wrongness could be packed into that book. That small. How it could be marketed strictly towards Swifties and women. And for it to include all of that. So don't read that book. I took one for the team. I did it. If you want books that celebrate the love that is at the base and root and importance of just that is Taylor Swift, try one of these. This is just a joke. This is Rob Sheffield is the smallest man who ever lived. Also, his picture in the back, like, that's so creepy. Am I wrong? Especially as a guy who says she did something bad when she was sexually assaulted. If you made it this far, pop a broken heart in the comments, because that's how we're feeling after that one. That's the vibe. But thank you so much for listening to my rant. Best wishes to everyone who is not Rob Sheffield.